Hi everybody, it's Terry Ryder from Hotspotting. Hope you're having a good evening. There's been a significant development at the end of this week in the debate about housing affordability, and it comes from a rather unlikely source. It comes from the Reserve Bank of Australia, which has published a paper discussing what they see as the prime reason why house prices in our major cities have gone so high, causing an affordability issue for young people trying to get into the market. It tends to support the contention that we've been hearing for many years from the home building industry, who have essentially been saying that the biggest problems with housing affordability are actually caused by the politicians, the government at all three levels of government, particularly state governments and local councils, because they have policies which restrict supply, they restrict the release of land, they add to the costs of developing land and dwellings on the land with their zoning system, with their policies about resisting the need for high densities, with their various fees and charges and taxes that adds enormously to the cost of creating a new dwelling. And by and large, those points of view have not gained a lot of traction in media. They've been falling on deaf ears because I think media has just dismissed it as the voice of vested interest, and media has preferred to cling to its cherished storylines that its affordability issues are all caused by either foreign investors or Australian investors boosted by negative gearing. Those have been the cherished storylines that media has put forward pretty constantly. But the developer lobby, the building industry, has been saying, no, that's not the core issue. The core issue is the restrictions on supply, the planning system, the delays, the bureaucratic delays, and the taxes and fees and charges and delays that add hugely to the cost of developing a new dwelling. Now, this new paper published by the Reserve Bank of Australia tends to support that view, that particular line that's been put forward for years by the building industry. And it's saying that the zoning rules and the restrictions on what can be built on land imposed by that zoning system and other bureaucratic imposts, including restrictions on building heights and restrictions on densities, has had the impact of pushing up the price of housing in our major cities by more than 40%. And that's a massive figure. For Brisbane, for example, it's suggesting that zoning regulations and other bureaucratic problems have added something like $159,000 to the price of the average house in Brisbane, and has added $110,000 to the cost of the average apartment in Brisbane. And that's a huge impost on top of the other costs of creating new dwellings. So it's very much sheeting the blame for the high cost of dwellings and the affordability problem to the politicians and the bureaucrats, the people who run state governments and councils. And of course, the impact is much higher in our biggest cities, Sydney and Melbourne. And it's suggested again by the Reserve Bank's paper that the property prices are 40% higher in Sydney and Melbourne than they need to be. And it's essentially those bureaucratic things, council restrictions, the zoning system, and state government imposts as well, which has the impact of slowing down the production of new dwellings and also restricting the number of new dwellings that are built. And the consequence of that is dwellings costing a hell of a lot more than they really need to. And I've been saying similar things myself for a long time. Anyone who follows my broadcast through this medium or my various read my various articles in different mediums will know that that's very much how I see it, that the nub of the affordability issue is to do with the costs imposed on the process of creating new dwellings by the various levels of government. They all do it. They all use the housing industry as a cash cow, and in so doing, they add massively to the cost of creating new dwellings. And the builders who create the new dwellings, they can't sell a new house and land package for $400,000 if it costs $500,000 to create it. And the reason why it costs so much is because of the imposts, the costs, the taxes, fees and charges and delays imposed, particularly by state governments and local councils. So very interesting to see that massive, I think, contribution to this debate from a fairly credible, major and independent source, the Reserve Bank of Australia. That's it for now. Terry Ryder from hotspotting.com.au signing off. I'll talk to you again soon.